Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's class. So it's not so crooked. This drawer right here. Watch, it's going to pop open. I'm a ghost. So today you're going to need a yoga mat, a block, or pillow or something to prop your hips up. You can sit on the floor if you prefer, but I'd like you to try sitting on something, raising those hips up a little bit. So we'll need this in a little while. This one is a cork block from Hugger Mugger. You can get them on Amazon, sporting goods stores. This one's a really good one. It's like really sturdy. Just keep it away from your pets because they decide that it is a delightful snack. For today's practice, we're going to start laying on your back, on your mat. And go ahead and pull the soles of the feet up so that your knees are up, and then butterfly those knees out. Your hands are going to be on your belly. And I just want you to shut your eyes and start to notice the breath as it goes in through the nose, past the throat, fills up the belly, and then back out again. And during this practice, I'm going to ask you to start extending those inhales and exhales. Let's try one together. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Again, in. Exhale. One more. Inhale. And exhale. Sealing the lips into the nose, out through the nose. Inhale. And exhale. Again, inhale. Put a light constriction on that throat as you exhale. Good. And as we're lying here, I want you to go ahead and set an intention for your practice today. Check in with your body. What do you need for this practice today? It can be a word, it can be a quote, it can be someone that you love. Pick something that you can focus on when your mind starts to wander. So take a few seconds to do that. Eyes are still shut, long inhales and exhales. Good. On the next inhale, I want you to take those arms overhead, all the way overhead. Stretch out that belly. Really releasing that back, the shoulders, the belly. Eyes are still shut. On your back. Good. Go ahead and hug those knees into your chest and give that spine a rock. Full back a rock. Good. Let the soles of the feet come down to the mat. Let the knees fall over to the right. Your arms are going to open up like a T. It's just a gentle twist on the spine. Again, long inhales and exhales. Last one, inhale and exhale. Hug those knees back into the chest. Give that lower back a rock, back and forth. And let the soles of the feet come back down to the mat. The knees are going to fall over to the left. The arms open up like a T. Gentle twist on that spine. It's okay if your lower back lifts off the mat just a little bit. 3 breaths here. Last one, inhale. And exhale. Hug those knees into the chest. Same thing, rock out that back. You're gonna roll to a seated position. At this point, I'd like you to grab that block or pillow. You're gonna sit on it, letting the knees fall gently down towards the mat. It gives your hips just a little bit of lift. And it draws a nice line from hip to knee. Gives like a slight diagonal. And it takes a little while to get used to sitting up on like a pillow or a bolster or a block. But then once you've done it enough, it will feel unnatural to sit on the flat floor. It just feels better with the alignment here. Hands on the knees, tuck that chin down towards the chest. Good. Take the gaze up. Go ahead and take those arms overhead. Interlace the fingertips, really pressing towards that ceiling. Give a slight arch in that back. Beautiful. Taking it over to the side. And rather than trying to get things perfectly straight, you'll hear me say flat back, straight back. What I actually mean is length. None of our body is perfectly straight. And trying to create length and space in the body is what I'm generally referring to. Getting it as straight as possible is good, especially in poses like downward facing dog. Getting that spine nice and long, straight. Last time this side. Good. Shaking those arms out, side to side. Good. Big shoulder rolls back. And forward. Good. Shaking it all out. Go ahead and clear that pillow or block off your mat. We're going to come to all fours. You're going to stack those hips right over those knees. The wrists right underneath those shoulder blades. I want you to spread those fingertips, externally rotate the hands out just a little bit. On the inhale, your toes are down on the mat. On the inhale, you're going to drop that belly, lift that chin. On the exhale, round that spine, push all the air out. Inhale. And exhale. This is called cat-cow. Do a few of these in your own pace. All of us have a slightly different pace when we're taking deep breaths in and out, depending on our lung capacity. And for some people, cat-cow feels really good if you do it fast. If you're going exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. Some people do this very quickly, but for most, a nice, long, drawn-out breath feels best. Go ahead and have a neutral spine, flat back. I want you to pretend you have a hula hoop. We're going to do barrel rolls. Keeping those elbows soft. Drawing in that navel. And then reverse it. Good. Wiggling it all out, neutral spine. From here, we're going to do puppy pose. You're going to stay up on your hips, and all you're going to do is walk those hands forward, starting to arch that back. And the goal is to get the chest, the arms, and the forehead all the way down onto the mat. This is very similar to child's pose. Three breaths here. Last one, inhale. And exhale. Walk those hands back. Stack those wrists right under the shoulder blades. Take a long breath in. I want you to tuck those toes. You're going to start to lift the hips, downward facing dog. Keep those knees soft. And start to pedal out those feet. On the inhale, come up on those tippy toes. Bend both knees. Look towards your hands. On the exhale, straighten those legs. Inhale, up on the toes. Bend those knees. Exhale, straighten. 3 more of these. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Last one, inhale. And exhale. Take 2 breaths here in downward facing dog. Last one. Take baby steps towards the top of your mat, towards your hands. And I want you to catch opposite elbows. You're going to hang like a rag doll. Keep those knees soft. Give a gentle sway to the body. Still warming up that spine. And then release those hands. You're going to roll to a stand. Stacking those vertebrae one at a time. Your shoulders are going to come last. Up, back, and down. Beautiful. Shake it all out. And standing nice and tall in Tadasana. Tadasana is a standing pose. It looks very simple, but if you've done this before, you know this already. Feet are hip width distance apart. Your feet are a box. Your toes are the corners. Your heels are the back corners. Find that balance so you're nice and strong. Thighs are a little bit tensed. On the inhale, you're going to swing those arms up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Bend those knees as you come down. Inhale, come up on those fingertips. Lengthen that spine.
You'd like to call Tamara Winfrey Bennett Mobile.
Oh my. On the exhale, step back to a plank. Serious possessed sometimes, right? Take those knees down if you need to. Inhale here. On the exhale, hug those elbows into the chest and slowly lower all the way out to your belly. Untuck those toes. Hands are right beneath the shoulders. On the inhale, like a string pulling your head back. Baby cobra, your shoulders and upper chest come off the mat. Exhale back down. Inhale, baby cobra. Exhale down. Last one, inhale. And exhale. Inhale, pressing all the way up, upward facing dog, full belly, upper thighs come off the mat. Exhale back down. Inhale, upward facing dog. Maybe pull those thighs off the mat so you're just on the tops of your feet. Exhale back down. Inhale, upward facing dog. On the exhale, tuck those toes, lift those hips, downward facing dog. 5 breaths here. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Inhale. And exhale. Last one. In. And out. Take those knees to the mat. They're going to go wide. Your big toes are going to touch behind you. You're going to sink those hips back. You're going to sit back towards your heels, really reaching those fingertips forward into a child's pose. Forehead comes down to the mat. And from here, I just want you to relax for a moment. Eyes are shut. I'm going to take about 6 or 7 breaths here. Child's pose is one of those poses that's always here for you. If you need a break, if you need to slow down that heart rate, hit child's pose. You're still actively doing something. You're stretching out those hips. You're reaching those fingertips forward, stretching out those shoulders. You're slowing down that heart rate. Inhale. And exhale. 2 more breaths here. In. And out. Last one. Inhale. And exhale. On the inhale, you're going to come to all fours. On the exhale, you're going to tuck those toes, lift those hips, downward facing dog. 2 breaths here. Good. Baby steps, top of the mat. Roll to a stand. Shoulders last. Shake it all out. We're going to do the same thing again. We're going to do it to breaths, but it's going to be a little bit quicker. Standing nice and tall in Tadasana. Inhale, arms come up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen that spine. On the exhale, step it back to a plank. Inhale here. Exhale, lower all the way onto your belly. Untuck those toes. Inhale, upward facing dog. On the exhale, retuck those toes, lift those hips, downward facing dog. 3 breaths here. Last one. Inhale. And exhale. Pour all the weight into that left foot. Take that right leg up to the sky. Stretching out here. Go ahead and stack the hips on top of each other. Bend that knee. Open up the hip to the side. One more breath here. Go ahead and square those hips. Take that foot down. Downward facing dog. 2 breaths.
Pouring all the weight into that right foot, left leg comes up to the sky. Stretching that out. Stack those hips on top of each other. Bend that knee, open up that hip to the side. One more breath here. Good. Square those hips. Take that foot down. 2 breaths here. Baby steps, top of the mat. Take your time getting there. Slow roll to a stand. Good. Shake it all out. Quick break. If you need water, grab it. And then we're going to meet up again, standing nice and tall in Tadasana. Top of the mat. Taking your right foot back. You're gonna square your toes. I'm gonna face you just so you can see. There we go, right here. You're gonna square your toes so that they're facing the front of you. You're gonna bend both knees and arms are gonna come up. You're in a high lunge. I'll do this from the side so you can see it. Ideally, you do not want the knees to go past a 90-degree angle. Nice and tall. Smooth breaths in and out. Beautiful. What are you doing, buddy? One more breath here. Inhale, straighten both of those knees. Open up the arms. Maybe one that stands just a little bit. Square the hips in between the 2 legs. Rebend that front leg. Warrior 2. Gazes over those front fingertips. Back arm is parallel to the floor. Good. 2 more breaths here. Inhale, straighten that front leg. Flip the palm. Take the warrior up to the sky. Really stretching out that side. Good. Inhale. The arms swing out wide. You're going to rock the hips towards the back of your mat, really reaching towards the front of your mat. You pivot into a triangle. Your hand can come to your shin, the knee, the thigh, or even the floor, whatever gives you the most space in this pose. Two more breaths here. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale, the arms swing. You're gonna rebend that front knee and the arms are gonna swing again. Again, the hand can come to the thigh, the shin, or all the way to the floor for side angle. Last breath here. Go ahead and look down at that foot. I want you to place both palms on the inside of that foot. You're gonna pop that back heel up and I want you to adjust for a low runner's lunge. Place those palms all the way flat on the mat. Good, give a bend in that back knee. I want you to hop that foot forward about a foot. You're gonna straighten both legs and you're gonna forward fold over them. If you can't reach the ground, this is a great spot to have a block so that you can balance up higher. Again, it's about length, not being perfectly straight. And with the block, you can actually adjust the height as you get closer and closer to the ground. Last breath here. Bending both of those knees, step that right foot to the left and slowly roll to a stand. We're gonna do this whole thing, but on the other side now. So again, standing nice and tall in Tadasana. You're gonna take that left foot back. You're gonna be on the ball of the foot. You're gonna bend both those knees, arms come up, high lunge. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale, straighten both legs. Open the arms up. Maybe widen that stance just a little bit. Rebend that front knee. Gaze over those front fingertips. Warrior two. Good. Give that back arm a glance. Make sure it's parallel to the floor. Yes. Inhale, straighten that front leg. Flip the palm and take the warrior to the sky. One more breath here. Inhale, arms swing, rock that hip to the back of the mat, reaching for the front of the mat, and you pivot to triangle on this side. One more breath here. Inhale, arms swing, rebend that front knee. Arms are going to swing again, hand to thigh, shin are all the way down to the floor. This is another spot a block is great for. Look down at that right foot. Both palms are going to come to the inside of it. You're going to pop that back heel up, adjust for a low runner's lunge. Palms are on the mat. Distribute that weight evenly. Give that back knee a bend, hop that foot forward, about a foot, forward fold over both legs. Bend both knees, step that back foot to the front foot, roll to a stand. Shake it out, grab water if you need it. We're gonna go into our balancing section now. You love my hair. Yeah, it got warmer, so I let it air dry into this delightful chaos. I kind of missed it. I go through phases. I'll love it straight with like, you know, some curl, but not like these curls. And then I'll like miss this wildness. All right, balancing. You're gonna take that right ankle. You're gonna place it right over that kneecap on the left. You're gonna sit into this. Spot something in the room that's not moving. Hands are gonna come to heart center. You're really gonna sit into it. Pretend there's a chair behind you. And tightening up that core, the glutes, the thighs, everything. Everything's working on this one. I see wiggling. Good. Go ahead, stand up, shake it out. So when I say tighten up the core, get a little closer. So you're here. Your core is like all of this right here. When I say tighten, it's like you're doing a crunch and you're drawing that belly button. It almost feels like you're sucking it back to your back. You're not holding in your stomach. You're tightening the muscles that are there. And for a lot of us, those muscles aren't super strong. I have a pretty strong core at this point from doing it so long, but I didn't used to. So when I say engage your core, tighten those muscles like you would if you were doing a crunch or a sit-up. Let's go to the other side. Take that left leg, left ankle over that right kneecap. You're gonna sit down into it, spot something again that's not moving. Don't look at the screen right now. Hands to heart center. And try to get as low as you can. Find that sweet spot where you're not wiggling too much. Focusing on the breath and the body. Good, you guys are way stronger on this side. Good, taking it down, shake out those legs. Tree pose. You're gonna take the right foot to the inner calf, the inner knee, or even up the upper thigh, depending on your flexibility. If you're on the knee, just don't press out too hard. It's hard to injure yourself unless you're really pushing, but the knee tends to be one of those spots that is weaker, especially as we get older. So if you're on the kneecap, don't press real hard with that foot. Hands to heart center, and then up to the sky. Two more breaths here. Good, coming down. Other side, same exact thing. And try to pull that hip out so that if there was a wall here and behind you, you could like fit through if you were sideways. So you see how the hips are flat? And then you take the hands up. I mean, I've got a lot of curve going on, but you understand what I mean. Widen that hip as much as you can. And then the goal is to take 5 of your own breaths. So if you get there before I am done, go ahead and relax. Or hold the position longer. Last breath. Good. Shake it out. Standing in Tadasana. We're going to do a slow forward fold. So hands on the thighs, run them along, keep those knees soft, slide bend, come all the way down to the mat. Good. Come up on the balls of the foot and back. Balls of the foot and back. From here, I want you to plant those hands. You're going to step back to a downward facing dog. Take your time getting there. Lock it in. Few breaths here. And then we're going to set up for pigeon. One more breath here. Good. Take that right leg to the sky. You're going to bend the knee. That leg is going to swing through. That ankle is going to cross in front of you. Ankle is going to come to that left hip. You're going to extend that left leg out. Untuck those toes. Come up nice and tall on those fingertips. And then forward fold. We'll be taking several breaths here. If the strain is too much for you, you can place that pillow or block or whatever you have underneath that right hip to alleviate some of that strain. Five more breaths here. Last one, inhale. And exhale. Inhale, walk those hands up. You're going to be on your fingertips. You're going to tuck those back toes. Actually, you're actually going to be palms down. Untuck those back toes. Swing that right leg all the way back up. And then back down, downward facing dog. Long breath here, inhale. And exhale. Good. Take that left leg up to the sky. Bend that knee. You're going to swing that leg through. Ankle crosses in front. Ankle's going to come to that right hip. Untuck those right toes. Really extend that leg nice and long. You're up on your fingertips. And then you're going to forward fold. 5 more breaths here. Last one, inhale. And exhale. Good. Coming up on those hands. I'm gonna tug those back toes, lifting that knee up, pop that back leg all the way up. And then down, downward facing dog. 3 breaths here. Last one, inhale. And exhale. Good. Take the knees to the mat. They go wide. You're going to press back to a child's pose. Coming back to that intention you set. Smooth breaths in and out. Three more breaths here. Last one. Good. Go ahead and come up on the knees. And I want you to take a seated position. So you're going to swing those legs in front of you. Take your time getting there. Sitting up nice and tall. Take those arms up overhead. You're going to forward fold to your ability. If you can't grab the toes, that's okay. Come to your shins, your knees, or your thighs. One more breath here. Good. Arms come up. They come down. Pull the soles of the feet in. The knees are going to butterfly out. Sitting up nice and tall. Hold your feet like they're a book. And then I want you to use your elbows to press out those knees just a little bit. Just getting a little bit of stretch on those hips. Good. Go ahead and bring the knees up. Soles of the feet are on the mat. You're going to rock onto your back. So if you need to scooch down your mat, go ahead and do that. Hug those knees into the chest like we did at the beginning. Give that full spinal rock. Good. I want you to press the soles of the feet into the ceiling. Take the hands. They're going to be palm down on the ground next to you. And I want you to slowly lower those legs all the way down to the mat. You're going to be using your core for this, your glutes, your thighs, everything. Your hands will help control the descent. Flexing those feet. And once you get to the bottom, you're going to release all of that tension out of the body. Take a breath here. Hug those knees back into the chest. Give a little rock. Same exact thing. Press the soles of the feet into the ceiling. The feet are really flexed. Palms are on the ground. And slowly lower those heels all the way down. If you could picture a clock, that second hand moving, that's about the speed your feet should be going. Once you get to the bottom, release all that tension. Beautiful. Hug those knees into the chest. Little gentle rock. Then using your 3 first fingers, I want you to grab those big toes, open up those hips. This is a happy baby. I want you to give your spine a rock from here. Opening up those hips. Good. Coming to center. Hugging those knees back into the chest. Let the soles of the feet come down to the mat. And I want you to inch those heels back towards your butt. From here, we're just going to keep our hands down alongside this time, palms down. I want you to press those hips up to the sky, creating space underneath you. Make sure you're not clenching that jaw or tightening that neck too much. This should all be glutes and core and thigh. There shouldn't be any tension in your upper body. Come up a little bit higher and then release all the way down to the mat. Windshield wiper those knees back and forth. Good. Same thing again. Plant those feet. Take those heels back towards your butt. Press those hips up to the sky. Tightening up all those muscles there. A little bit higher. And then release all the way down to the mat. Knees go side to side. We're almost there, guys, I promise. Last time, plant those feet, inch those heels back, really press those hips up. Try to get higher this time. Putting the full weight into your feet. Hips come up a little bit higher and release. Knees go side to side. Good. Let the soles of the feet touch, butterfly those knees out, hands come to your belly. Close your eyes. And I just want you to let go of those long breaths. You're just going to breathe naturally from now on. Come back to that intention that you set. Know that you did all the work, and all you have to do now is relax. And then gently extend your right foot to the front corner of your mat, and then the left. And then the right palm comes alongside your body, and then the left. Eyes are shut. And I want you to do a gentle scan of the body. Make sure you're not holding tension anywhere. We tend to hold a lot of tension in our knees, in our spine, in our neck, and our jaw. For the next few minutes, you're just going to lie here. And when it's time, I will call you out of it. If you find your mind starting to wander into things that you have to do later today, any of life's stresses, come back to that intention you set, or focus on someone that you love. I like to pick a favorite memory with someone I love when I'm in Shavasana and just go through it. It's a wonderful way to relax and to stay present. And slowly coming back. You can move those fingers and toes, the wrists and ankles. Take those arms overhead, big good morning stretch. And then leaving that right arm up, you're gonna curl onto your right side, cushioning your head with that arm. And taking your time, coming to a seated position, legs are crossed. You can be back on your block or your pillow or sitting flat, hands on the knees. We're going to take 2 breaths together to close the class. In through the nose, out through the mouth with a sigh. Inhale. Exhale. One more in. Namaste. I hope to see you on Thursday. Please bring friends. And what do I say? Every single class.
Make sure that you're drinking your water, taking care of yourself. We'll see you guys next time.